Hello and welcome to Illumination Podcast with Nick and Kisma. Today's episode is special. We're going to revisit an episode we did quite a while ago, I would say maybe 4 months. And it was when my mom was ill. And because this podcast is coming out on Mother's Day, I thought it would be appropriate to release this publicly. And I just wanted to say a few words before you listen. And I think it's even when the podcast was Kisma and the Dark Yogi. But here's the deal. You're either listening on Mother's Day or maybe a day or two or a week after Mother's Day. And everybody has a mom, right? And it is such a fascinating relationship between a mother and a child. And then as the child grows into teenage years and young 20s and throughout the whole life process, obviously we go through those times with our mom where we're like, oh, she's driving me crazy, or we're super attached, or some of you might have your mom as your best friend, or some of you might not even talk to your mom. And some of you, sadly, might not even know your mother or knew her for a very short time. But I thought what I would share is that there's one thing that I believe we could really do for each other, because those kinds of emotions, from love and happiness to sadness and frustration and anger, it's like such a range of emotions that we can often feel with our mothers, right? And I'm sure mothers towards the kids. Look at admiring the human behind your mom, because that's when I believe the barriers get broken and we have more truthful conversations and there's less judging. It's really being able to see the human behind the mother, because there's something about losing the one person that you know, no matter what you do, she loves you, even if she doesn't show it, or even if she overshows it. Like your mom, our moms, pretty much unconditionally love us. Like we can screw up really badly and you know your mom's going to love you. So when your mom passes, as some of you know, it's a weird feeling. It's like it's a loss of her, and then it's a loss of this cord of unconditional love in this world. So the admiration piece came to me because I remember in probably the last time I saw my mom, she was really, really thin. She was in the assisted living and she was just really ready to go. But what she did every day was make an effort to get out of bed, to get dressed, to put a little bit of makeup on, to make sure her hair was brushed. You know, her friend Michael, the amazing hairdresser, would come every week and do her hair, and she'd brush her teeth. And she did this every day. And I think she did it for us, especially my two sisters that really took care of her, Martha and Susan. I think she did it for people that were visiting. And it was so amazing for me to watch. Like, she could have been ranting up a storm and how much it really sucked to be so ill, but she really didn't. And that's when I had, I think, the most admiration for her. So if your mom's still around, call her, tell her you love her, admire the human behind the mom. And if she's not around, just take a few moments and talk to her, because the really beautiful thing is she might just talk back.
Hey there, welcome to this episode of Kisma and the Dark Yogi, and we're just going to have a conversation.
Oh my God, I'm being put on the spot for our podcast. Hey everyone.
No, we don't have to use this for a recording or anything like that, but let's just see what comes out. Maybe we'll cut something out of it. So cool. Your mom's in the process of transitioning right now, and I've watched this as an observer, and it's been just really interesting for me to see the array of emotions that come up. And really, just on a personal note, I would say, like, really commend you and your family for just meeting this with the utmost in grace that I've ever seen. But I was wondering if you could share, like, a little bit about your experience with that. Like, how do you meet that? Like, what goes on in you?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's kind of this funny thing we have as humans because we actually we're connected to source in ways that we don't really always understand. So we know we're not going to die. Like, yes, our physical bodies are going to end, but we really don't die. So as we watch other people go through this period of transition, it's kind of like, oh, is this ever going to happen to me? It's like we can't really conceive of it unless we're super close to it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing because when you understand, it's because you are the self, like self with a capital S, and you're not going to die. You'll get this. Like, it's such a high teaching. You're not going to die. Like, your body's going to do whatever it does, but there's this ascension and amazing and transition and beautiful things happening afterwards. And we have always been and are, and we will always be.
That's amazing. I mean, if we could just remember that, I think that would go a really long ways. It's interesting how people, I think, live sometimes as if they're going to live forever.
Yes.
In this body. And it's the kind of the dichotomy of that truth of your soul lives on regardless. This body and this experience is precious and limited.
Yes. And don't mess with it.
Don't mess with it. What sorts of things came up for you?
Well, one of the things that's been amazing, my mom, just for those of you, why would you know? She turned 90 in September. So, man, she rocked 90 years. That's amazing. And just a few weeks before her 90th birthday, she found out that she had cancer. And it was really easy for her to be like, yep, not doing anything, not going to do any treatment, whatever. And what happened from then is just an interesting array of reactions, of perceptions, of just wanting to get it right for all of the siblings to make sure she's well taken care of. But then then brother and sisters and whatever having different opinions of what's right. But all in all, like, I'm just so happy to say, and my family's really founded in truth and love and worked through it so beautifully because the person that should be taken care of was my mom.
Well, it's hard to get mad because you do recognize that everybody is
seen. So this is the thing, everyone, and this is what the mind-blowing concept here is. Right now we're talking about death, and that's a big thing for most of us. But for everything, our perception is different. As you walk down the street and look across the street, your perception of what you see on the other side is different from the person accompanying you down the street. They will see one thing and you'll see something else, or you'll see the same thing, but you'll see it differently. So then when you translate that into this massive thing of leaving this planet, it's like, all of a sudden I realized everybody is seeing this different. And my mom is seeing it differently through the eyes of each of us. Like, her relationship with each sibling is different. And her interaction with each sibling is different, although it's still, she's really found this place of love, like totally in her heart. It's a really beautiful place to be and very, very important as you transition, because when you can hold that space of love, I mean, it's the best.
It's amazing, and from what you've described to me, it seems like if there was one thing that she was really going to take away from this experience, it was to just truly be in her heart.
She just stepped right into her heart. And this is a woman, like, you've got to understand, she grew up during the Depression. So there's a lot of shame, a lot of guilt for whatever, not having enough money, being really poor. And then, married my awesome dad, and they built an amazing, amazing life. Like, my dad was the American dream, no college, no nothing, started driving a truck and then bought the business. That's the American dream. Put 4 kids through college. And then he's been gone, 7 or 8 years. And the first couple of years was really hard on my mom. And then she pulled it up, like, she did okay and she had friends. She became more social than I ever saw her. So her perception though is, and I really, I attribute this to the work that she's been able to do. And she's just like, she said to me one day, why are so many people afraid of dying? And I was like, oh, Mom, that's awesome. Because you know what? It's going to be beautiful. Like, you don't have to worry. You're going to be okay.
How does this experience compare to your dad's passing?
Well,
is it just totally different?
Yeah, I would say it's different. Just the mother-father thing. She is functioning better health-wise for a longer period of time than my dad. And I think that was, one of the tricky things. My dad just being the strong man that he was, and then getting so sick. And it was really hard to see him like that.
It was like he just kind of powered through until he couldn't, then he got really sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the perception thing, right, of just having a totally different relationship with one and then with the other. Mm-hmm. Wow. Thanks for...
Yeah. But one thing, I'll share with everybody, it's like, here's the important thing, when it comes to your mom or it comes to whomever in your life, one thing I realized at the beginning, it's like, oh, Mom is sick. And it was almost like we all wanted to step in and treat her like a child, where in fact, like, she's the matriarch of this family. She freaking rocked 90 years. She grew up during the Depression. She raised 4 kids. She widowed, she maintained her house, she took care of people. This is a matriarch, and she needed to be treated as one. And once she was, it was like, she was fine. She was okay.
That's amazing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It really, it seems so easy to slip into that place of wanting to take care, wanting to...
And you do.
Yeah. Like wanting...
And you should, really, to a level.
Right. To a level, but to take control of the decision making when, in reality, she has the capacity
totally
beyond to make her decisions,
Yeah. And she's been cool and clear and great about that.
And really to honor her in that. Well, there's the train of truth.
Here's the train of truth. Oh, train of truth for Mom. She's very truth-bound her entire life.
Really?
Yeah. Very truth-bound.
Is that her energy?
Divine love.
Really?
I would say she's divine love.
Interesting. Why? Just because of what you've seen?
Well,
just recently, or?
Yeah, I mean, she really landed in divine love. So being that she found that place, and also, I always said, like, my mom was an amazing manifester. She manifested that we all grew up healthy, strong, did well, was successful, even though it was like, and our perception, our last podcast, we talked about perception, was cloaked in worry and anxiety, which, yes, it was, but it was like she was so bent on everyone's going to be okay, and I'm going to freaking make this happen.
She will that to happen.
Willed us, really. When I glance back, I'm like, man, she was a manifester.
What is your very favorite memory of your mother?
The most recent, really.
Really?
Mm-hmm, yeah, just like having her arrive in her heart. I mean, not that she wasn't before, but I think it was just her knowing that she really doesn't have to do anything. Like, we can help to take care of her, and then it's like she arrived in her full divine love expression. And that's a great memory to have.
That's so beautiful.
So last time I saw her, I just kind of would crawl in bed with her and work on my computer as she was resting. And, just the mother-daughter thing. And it reminds me of, me and Zoe, and those times Zoe would crawl in my bed. And there's something about crawling in bed with your mom. So you know what? If you got a mom, go crawl in bed with them. If you got a daughter or a son, go crawl in bed with them tonight.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, I know that this is a vulnerable topic for you, so thanks for sharing with everybody, and thanks for sharing with me.
Yeah, thanks.
Peace.